Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with veteran jazz saxophonist Jack Oatts. He was born and raised in the state of Iowa and was brought up in a musical family. He was introduced to the saxophone by his father, Jack Oatts, who was a very well-respected jazz educator and saxophonist himself. He would eventually make it to New York City in 1977 and join the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra. Since that time, he has been with the best in jazz and spent decades thrilling audiences. We caught up with him on April 19th, 2020 during the coronavirus quarantine to discuss jazz and hope. Enjoy it.
Cool. Hey, thanks for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I got a lot of them.
Yeah, we all do, don't we? So where exactly are you located?
I'm in Philly right now because I kind of got stuck there. And I got a house in New York, but I also have an apartment down in Philly because I teach at Temple University and in Philly. So I've been kind of down here. I have one son that's down here and a son and a daughter that's up there and another son in Denver. So I had to pick where I thought I'd be most effective.
Wow. Yeah. Well, thanks. It's pretty extraordinary times, so thanks for taking a minute out.
Man, yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So,
it's all good.
So talk to me a little bit about what you're doing lately. Any projects, anything you're doing during quarantine, anything that's going on?
Well, I'm doing a lot of Zoom lectures. I also teach. I'm doing a lot of Temple with my small group and my private students. And I'm also, I've done some interviews. Like I did kind of a feel-good interview from some students I had in Australia when was it, last August. And so they asked me if I could kind of give them some encouragement, advice on what to do if they're younger, and how to make the most out of this uncertain time and, make it positive. So I've been kind of doing a lot of that. I've been reaching out to a lot of not only my colleagues and friends, but just, doing things that I would not be able to really do. A lot of it's, sending emails of encouragement out and also getting, chances to listen and watch videos of music cats, that I haven't been able to do because I've been so busy. Just kind of stopped everything. So it's been really kind of fascinating time for me because since I started my career, I've never had time to really delve into this sort of forced time off. So,
I've heard a lot.
Well, when you start gigging, it just goes, and then, when the gigs stop coming in, but they just never seem to stop coming in. So I was telling my wife the other day, I said the thing that was probably going to save me is the coronavirus, so I'm not, going out all the time, being overtired, work too much. And, but I'm doing a lot. I'm doing a lot online, and I'm also got a connection, like I said, in Amsterdam at the conservatory there, and I probably do a few classes and master classes there, maybe some private students, work with a few rhythm sections maybe. And then most of my gigs have canceled so far through June. I had about 4 weeks that were great gigs that, with Joe Magnarelli and Gary Smolian and a good non-ed group in Paris and Switzerland. And then we're going to play with the Frankfurt Radio Orchestra with Jim McNeely after that. And then I haven't heard yet from that, but that's canceled. And then supposed to go to Amsterdam later in the month in June to do that. And I haven't heard yet, but I think that's probably going to cancel. So, and whatever is left, I'm hoping to, we're supposed to do a tribute to Charlie Parker in Spain at a festival over there with Magnarelli, Joe Magnarelli. And then from then, my son gets married down in Colorado. So let's go to that. My daughter enters her first year of college coming in the fall. Then I got to go back out. I was doing a Bird with Strings thing with Justin DiCiocio in Las Vegas. And then as soon as that is over, I go right up to Vail and do 8 days of a workshop in Vail Jazz Festival. So we'll see what if it's going to happen or not. But,
yeah, that's the thing right now. I don't think anybody knows.
Nobody knows, and especially, it's really hard for a lot of my friends and musicians that, that are, we're used to. That's how we gig, that's how we work, that's how we survive, is playing. So it's kind of I'm lucky to have some teaching, some type of a teaching reputation that kind of covers me for this time. But, it's not an easy time for all of us musicians, artists.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Probably the same thing where your neck of the woods, the same thing everybody's kind of going through.
Yeah, it's been everything's dried up and everybody's scrambling to figure out what they're doing.
Yeah,
so.
I mean that's why I'm staying in tight. Like the Vanguard. The Mondays, of course, are not happening, and I've been doing that since for 42 years now. So it's like so hard not to get in the car and drive into New York City and get prepared for the big band on Monday nights. It's such a different trip.
Let me ask you this: you're from Iowa, right?
I'm from I was born in Des Moines and raised in Earlham and Jefferson, Iowa, small little farming communities that my dad used to teach at. And so that's kind of where my brother and I got our musical beginning, is like right there in the heartland there. And it was an amazing experience because I had no idea how far I was going to take this. And I think just one thing led into another. It's kind of like you got the Ryan Kaiser family that kind of did the same thing. You have Bill Stewart, who also did a similar thing. So our fathers played, and we kind of learned a lot from that early beginning. So those are the kind of the roots of how I got started. Was definitely my dad, and influenced by my brother, and then we just kind of grew and started working. And our first gigs were in Des Moines, basically, and I was going to Drake University for about a year, and decided, man, that's not going to really be what my calling is. And I remember telling my father, he said, look, Dad, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. This college thing is not going to work for me. He says, well, what do you mean? He said, just work hard. And I said, well, I can't play and go to college at the same time. I just didn't have that skill. I was kind of like, like I could do one thing pretty well, but if I had to do two and mix that up, I just thought I wasn't giving enough impact to the one or the other. So I had an offer from Minneapolis to go to there and to start for a few gigs, and so I took this guy and I went up there, and it was a gig, was like all young cats, and we're all hanging out. It was a great time. It's like, wow, this is kind of like what I want to do. I want to play for a living. And I told my father, he said, look, I want to leave college and move up to Minneapolis. He says, well, he said, I don't think you can make it as a player. And I said, well, what do you mean? He says, I don't think you're mature enough. I don't think you're ready. I don't think you can handle it. And I said, so you're telling me all the things that you taught me in high school and prepare for this and that and this, and it was all bullshit? So I actually said, like, just put your money where your mouth has been for the last, 10 years and see if I can make a living. So I went up there and I immediately got a 2-week engagement at some gentleman's club up there. And and then I got 6 months of work here, and literally within about 7-8 months, I had 2 nights off. And my first year of playing up there, I made more money than my father ever made teaching high school band. So I think I changed his mind, and then,
Wow.
it just kind of started like that. I wasn't thinking about being a jazz player as much as being just a musician that can feed himself and not depend on my father's, because, he had 3 other kids that he was helping out. I didn't want to be a burden to him, so I said, well, how can I put this together? How can I play more tenor? Work on the clarinet harder, the flute harder, work on the alto, playing lead alto, playing section alto, like learning tunes and just, how do I get into this circle? How do I, meet this person? Just like putting things together like that. So it wasn't, there was a lot of great players up there, and I really learned from so many of them. But it just kind of taught me, well, how far can I go? I couldn't go, if I was on the Des Moines freelance scene, it wasn't that big of a city. And then Minneapolis got smaller because there was just a handful of guys doing a certain amount of gigs. So then I just said, I saved up a bunch of money. I'm going to try New York now. So in 77, I saved up about $5,000, and I decided to try another level. And like I said, I don't think I outgrew Minneapolis. I just think that there was only a certain handful of guys that were going to do gigs, and they either had to die, and most of them were young. So I wanted to go out and try another place to live as well. So in 77, a friend of mine was working, he was playing lead alto in the University of Minnesota. And Thad Jones was the guest artist, and he was doing like a 3 or 4 day residency. And my friend Randy Pink was the lead alto player. And he came back and he said, look, Thad Jones wanted to know if I would like to move to New York. I said, Randy, were you going to do it? He says, no, I told him I wasn't ready, but I told him you were ready. I said, you what? He doesn't know me from Adam. He says, well, here's his number. Call him. So it was just such a fluke. And Dad was like that. He would take chances that nobody would take, writing and playing and running a big band, I guess, So that's, I thought it was probably going to be a joke. So I called the number up, and this big low voice got on the phone, and I said, well, is this Thad Jones? He says, well, yes, it is. Who are you? Who's calling me? I says, well, my name is Dick Oatts he says, oh yeah, Randy told me all about you. When can you come to New York? And I was just like, I didn't know what to say. It was like, God, I'd been trying to get on Buddy's band, or maybe trying to get on Kenton's band, or, but there wasn't any connections. But then when I got a call from Thad, says, yeah, well, we're looking for a tenor player for this tour, the stuff for Larry Schneider, who's going to be out with Horace Silver. And I said, well, yeah, I can be out there in 2 weeks. And so he said, give me a call when you get into town. So I got into LaGuardia, and I gave him a call, and he says, yeah, it's Monday, you're playing tonight. So I took my horn down, tenor. I started playing tenor on that band. It's tenor, flute, and clarinet. And I went down there, and that's kind of how it started. So,
right on. So what did you learn from the legends over the years that helped you as a teacher?
As a teacher, well, I think I learned how to be responsible for what I say I want to do, and how to be, how to, be inspired, how to keep myself in the game, how to keep growing. It never stops. You're always going to work on making yourself a stronger player. It kind of, it never is a never-ending degree program. I always tell my students, I said, it's not like a 4-year degree what I did. It's like a 70-year degree. You you stay in the game, and then when it's over, it's over. But, you know, I'm always in school. I'm always learning from so many other people. So it's like, you know, I learned when I was playing with Tito's band, when I was playing with John Faddis's band at Carnegie Hall, and Red Rodney, or Bob Brookmeyer, Mel Lewis, you know, all these bands, I was a student. I was just learning so much from it. And I think that no matter what today is, with the coronavirus and all this stuff, I'm still learning. I'm still learning every time I teach somebody, every time I have a conversation. It's just kind of like a built-in. I'm kind of always been like a sponge, you know. And, I mean, there's a lot I needed to learn, too. I'm telling you that. I was so green. And I took a chance, and it just, I think that that's what you do when you play a solo. That's what you do when you're always taking chances. So my career kind of got used to winging it and taking a chance in here, and sometimes it worked out, sometimes it didn't. And how am I going to feel when it doesn't work out? You know, so I would say, you know, it's a lifelong process, this jazz thing, because it's what kind of what I signed up for when I first got enthralled in it, when I was like 8 or 9 years old and wanted to sound like Louis Armstrong and Jack Teagarden and Bix and all these great things that inspired me early on, you know. And I was just like, I gotta say, you know, I mean, I'm so lucky to have had a father that was really into that, giving me the tradition, and early on by listening to the right stuff, and you know, I always tell my students that, hey, it's all new school until you make it old school. So
Right on.
So that's kind of like I said, you never outgrow this stuff. It's never old until you really know how to embrace it. So that's
Right
kind
on.
of been my mission. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question that's kind of ever present with what's going on right now in our world. You know, we're all going to get back to the music. We're going to get back to the crowds. So talk to me a little bit about what you hope both the musician and the audience realizes during this time of absence from the music. What revelation do you hope we have?
Well, I think that just how, as a musician, how lucky we are to be in an environment to express ourselves. You know, I think that that big picture has been overlooked. How we can express ourselves in the country we live in. I mean, it's not always easy, but I've been to so many other places that it's far worse. And I think that, you know, it's going to make people, I think, embrace each other, you know, and appreciate, you know, the advantages that we've been blessed with. So I'm hoping that, and I'm hoping that this awareness will make us like, you know, like, so nothing's permanent. This stuff could end in a heartbeat. Yep. And unless you make the most out of it now, you can't put it off. You gotta just, you gotta stand up and want it, and, you know, you can't say, I'll get to it tomorrow. Yeah. No, you got to get to it today. There's no other way to me, you know. So I think this will make them aware of. Also, we're like a big family as artists, you know, and to really make sure that we encourage our brothers and sisters in this music or in any other arts, support and come down and listen to people that have gigs and you know, try to expand and try to think of you know, how much you can really do, you know, and encourage yourself and become this is what I'm really hoping, is that we all become a big family again, supporting one another, not worrying about who has this gig or who's doing that and that. It's not even about that. It's just about embracing the big picture, which is creativity and finding ways to express it.
Right on. That's a great way, I think, kind of a triumphant way to kind of wrap everything up. Thank you for taking some time out today to talk about your life, music, and what's going on in the world. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Just, man, I hope the young people keep encouraged because we need them.
Yeah,
we need young
absolutely.
artists moving forward, moving us forward and moving themselves forward to keep our legacy alive. We need that, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
without a doubt.
But man, it's been great, Joe, and thanks for thinking of me, and good luck out there. You've got a lot of talent out there.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players in Iowa, Minnesota, New York City, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Dick for his time, music, and cool. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com. And for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.